Hi everyone, welcome back to the Family Art Project. I am so excited to show you what we're going to be making today. But before we get into the art making process, I'm actually going to take a little bit of time to share with you the inspiration behind what we're making and why we're making it. So to help us talk about the project that we're going to do, I brought a guest artist in today. So here's our guest artist, the Collegia Plant. And actually I have a few of them to show you. Now why would I call Collegia Plant our guest artist? Well, they are known as painter plants. If you look at the leaves on here, their foliage, they have a really unique structure and color pattern that it almost looks like someone painted these leaves. You can look on the back and see a dark maroon color. Look on the top of the leaf and see these circle patterns here that is a dark green. Collegias all have unique structures like this, and I'll show you another one in a bit. And this one here is called a lentifolia or a rattlesnake plant. And the reason we're looking to the Collegia plant as a source of inspiration is because we want to have a dialogue about care and support. At FAP, we look to nature as our teachers, and how can we adopt those same principles into what we do in our day-to-day lives. Before I go into that, I'm going to show you another one here that has unique foliage structure. So this one, it has actually the maroon coloring on the bottom that can be hard to see because these leaves are much more transparent, but it's there. And it also has that unique foliage. And this one is called a litsi plant or white fusion. When we talk about care in nature, we're thinking about growth. In what ways do they grow and support each other? And how do we play a role in supporting these plants, their growth? So we're going to look a bit into Collegias and how they grow, what they need for support, and then of course how we can adopt those same principles to support our family and friends. So the way that we think of plants for growth, we all know what they need, right? Can you take a guess? I think I heard you. Yeah, water and sunlight. However, all family of plants have their unique settings that they require that help them grow to their maximum potential. So Collegia plants, they like to be moist and they love humidity. So they're tropical plants. They thrive really well when there's lots of humidity in the air. And if you have one in your home, it can be hard to create humidity in the air because we don't really like humidity for ourselves. But you can get some good steam and humidity from taking a shower. So if you have one of these and you take a shower, bring it into the shower with you and let the plant absorb all that moisture from the air. And in watering it, it also means that you want to keep it moist. If you overwater it, you'll know because the tips of these will start to turn brown. And that is really important for us to see and listen to what our plants are showing us and telling us. I know plants can't talk, right? Well, if you listen long enough, I promise you they will tell you something. With sunlight, you want to give it a good amount of sunlight. In fact, actually medium to high sunlight, but you don't want to put it directly into the sunlight because it'll, well, also burn the plant. So you want to keep it near a window that gets lots of light, but kind of off to the side or a bit away from the window so it's not directly facing the sunlight. Collegia plants require unique settings to help it grow. Lots of sunlight, but not too direct. Good amount of water and keeping it moist and humid as best as you can and not letting it dry out too much. Other plants maybe need less water or more sunlight, less sunlight. It just depends on the plant. So it's really important that you listen to your plants because each thing in nature is going to tell you something unique and different in ways that they need support. Each family of plants are going to tell you something different. Now, how can we adopt those same principles, and why is it important always, but especially now, for us to think about ways and to listen and support? At certain points in people's lives, they really need support in ways that we can show that we're listening. So like the Calathea plant, if the tips are burning, you just got to listen to it and notice what it's telling you. And with our friends, if they're telling us that they need our support and help, then it's important for us to listen to what they're saying and show up for them. Sometimes they may need support through our action. And if they ask of us to do something, it's important that we show it that we can follow through with what they need for us. Sometimes our friends don't always need support in that way. Sometimes it's important for us to just step back, allow them to do what they need to do, and we come in when they ask of us. And other times, they really need us to step up for them to show that we are supporting them in their growth and that we value their life, and to show other people that their life should be valued in their eyes too. And that's, again, one of the great principles that we can learn from nature. I think the Calathea plants sets a good example for unique ways of growth, how to show up, how to support, and how to do it in a way that shows that we're listening to them and being direct in our actions and supporting them. So as we make today, I really want you all to think about those concepts. If you follow through in the activity with making and make your own, think to yourself, who are the friends right now that could be supported? Maybe it's time for you to ask your friends, how can you support them? Things that you hadn't considered, things that may be overlooked. And like the Calathea plants, it can be easy to overwater and overlook. But the moment that it tells you, I'm browning, and maybe I need less water, well, then let's follow through with that. I'm going to show you real quickly the project that I'm going to walk you through making, and hopefully get you a little excited to see how we can make these similar Calathea plants in a fun and unique way with unique materials. So here's what we have. Just some paper, some straws, and a plastic pot, and then some unique buttons in here that's going to serve as our soil. Now that you've seen what we're making, I think it's about time that I show you how to make it. To begin, the first thing we're going to do is grab 2 sheets of paper. I am grabbing a red color paper and an off-white paper. I'm going to glue those 2 sheets together. This is going to be ultimately what we cut the leaves out that we make from. I like the red color paper because, as we've learned, at the bottom of our plants, the Calatheas, a lot of them tend to be red. I want to have more leaves to cut out, so I'm going to do a second pairing of the white and red paper glued together. Now I'm drawing out whatever design I want. You can make up any design you like. I'm going to create kind of something wavy. It reminds me of what Calatheas look like. They all have different shapes and unique shapes, but this is a shape that I'm very familiar with and that I like a lot. So I'm referencing that wobbly shape. And we're drawing 3 layers because this is a 3-layer stencil that we're going to make ultimately with 3 different colors. So I'm doing multiple drawings that will serve out as my stencil. The larger shape that I drew is going to be the first layer. To my right, those check signs that I'm drawing is going to be another layer, and on the left side is going to be another layer, which will create 3 layers. And if it seems confusing now, you'll see how those layers come together when I start to create the stencil. Next, we'll grab a transparent sheet of paper, and I'm cutting out 3 different sheets to match a similar size of the drawing that we already did. So there's one, and we're cutting out the second and the third one. Now that we have our transparency cut, I'm going to draw one layer at a time on each transparency. So this first one is just going to be the outline shape of the leaf. Then the second layer is going to be all those check-looking shapes that are on the right side is going to be on our second transparency. Then our third transparency is going to be the shapes on the left. So now you can see a bit how these different layers are coming together. You can, of course, again, do any shape you like. Keep in mind that you'll want multiple drawings on there so that you can decide later on which one will be which layer. Now I'm cutting out my shape out of the transparency with an X-Acto knife. As is always the case with cutting the inside of your transparency or paper, you can use scissors, but it creates a challenge because you have to cut from the outside to get to the inside area or the middle of your paper. An X-Acto keeps the outside intact and you can just cut the inside so the whole shape and form of your transparent paper stays together, and that helps make the process a lot easier. Another thing that'll make this a lot easier is to make sure we keep things in order. So I put a label 1, 2, and 3 to make sure our shapes stay in the proper order. So the first transparency we're putting down is what we labeled as number 1, the big transparency. And now we're going to grab our watercolor and start putting down some color to create our first layer. I like to stay consistent with how leaves commonly look, or the color that's most common, which is green. So the first layer I'm putting down is green. Before I grab the second transparency, I want to fill out as much of the paper that I can, see how many of these leaves that I can fit. So I'm placing as many of this first layer down, and as you can see, I can fit 4. We made 2 sheets at the beginning of paper, so that means we're going to have a total of 8 leaves by the end of this project. Now we can move on to the second layer. I want to create some consistency, so the bottom side is red, so on the top I'm painting that second layer red. Again, we'll move down each side and create that second layer on all 4. Then you can guess what's next, the third layer. We'll do the same thing. We'll tape down that third layer, place it in the proper place that's consistent with the drawing that I started with. Then paint whatever color I like. I'm going to paint orange. It's a nice color that goes along the red color that I painted earlier. Here we have all of our images. And now we have all of our images, and we can cut them out. And when you do cut them out, you'll want to leave what would be the stem part pretty long. Give it a couple inches because we're going to stuff that part into some straws. And we want to have enough length to stuff it. So now we got all 8 of our leaves cut, and we can start stuffing it into the straw. And that straw, I have some bendy straws here to create some different heights and movements with our straw. Some of the leaves will stand up, some of them might be down. Now we have them all in, and we can stuff our pot that we made with whatever we like. I'm stuffing it with buttons because buttons are what I have. I have a lot of them around my apartment. And that's going to be my soil. And we can put the leaves into our pot of soil. Use the stems, the straws where the neck breaks, and put them together. Now our image is done. That was a really quick one. It's a bit of a process, but you can create all kinds of beautiful flowers however you want. Thank you again for joining us. We hope to see you next time. And of course, as always, if you make anything, share it with us on your social media. Share it with us by tagging Wave Hill and using the hashtag depth and distance. Until the next time.